Well, when you were outside recording a podcast in the fall in Iowa, and if it's rural enough, you're going to be dealing with it.
Right.
That's how this works.
Everywhere you go.
By the way, I turned the camera on.
Okay.
This is Jayme Busch, and she's joining us on Campfire Conversations tonight, and we're going to be talking about a lot of different stuff because I take a look at, well, shoot, I can just go to your Facebook page and I can look at all the different things you have going on.
Yeah.
How did you ever find time to come out here? You're just so darn busy.
Most of my stuff is during the day, so and some stuff in the evening, but I actually skipped softball practice tonight. So,
oh, you did?
Yep, that's okay.
Okay.
Yep, that's okay. Actually, we were moving it. They moved it up to an earlier time for some other reasons, and Addie just got done with volleyball, so we wouldn't have gotten there in time anyways, so it kind of all worked out, but yeah.
Well, softball in the fall, is that like a private league or?
Yeah, yep. So Addie plays for a select league out of Bellevue,
Okay.
Nebraska, and it happens to be the same organization I played for 20 some years ago, just
Really?
a different name. Yep. So randomly.
That's got to be kind of cool though, when you're going and realizing that your daughter is now just kind of following in your footsteps where that is concerned, and obviously she developed a love for it.
Yeah, yep, it's fun. It's fun. I never thought I would be back in the coaching world. I coached a little bit when I got done with softball while I was in college and stuff, and then I was asked to kind of help on this team, and not the head coach because I don't think I don't have time for that, but I told him I have 2 other kids, so I'll help as much as I can and I'll be at all the games, but and it's worked out great. So.
Right. Where did you play at? I mean, you talked about in college. Where did you play?
Yeah, so my freshman year, I played fall ball at Lincoln. I did not care for Lincoln, so I transferred home to Bellevue, and then I finished out at Bellevue.
Okay.
So, yep.
How was the? You're talking to an old sports guy, so once I find that out, then okay, we're gonna have to circle back to the other thing and find out more about this.
Sure.
So making that transition from, you're playing select league, you're playing high school softball, and then you go on to college. Now I've seen college softball. I know what it is. I know the speed that it's played at. So what was that transition like for you?
So I was already playing select ball and getting with most of those kids anyways. I had a sister that was 4 years older than me, so I almost always played up anyways. Right. So Peaches James is a big Nebraska softball player. She was a year older than my sister, but I was able to, see pitching from her at a young age. And so really, I mean, it's a transition because it's ball all the time. I mean, you're already playing ball all the time when you're traveling and all that stuff, but then it's you wake up and you're weightlifting, and then you're getting breakfast, and then you're going to class, and you might have something in the middle of the day, and then you're back, practicing until 7 or 8 o'clock at night, and then you get dinner, and it's a transition. Like, if I've always said, I always see all this stuff now. There's all these Facebook pages with all these young parents and with young kids, and they're the expectation for these young kids is so high. Addie's 12, so let them play. Just let them have fun and play. I never felt like it was forced upon me. I had fun doing what I was doing. You always have the moments where the kids have been around. You've been around enough girls long enough that you just need to get away for a little while. But that happens in college too.
Yeah.
And high school. So, but really, I don't know. My transition wasn't terrible. I think Lincoln was great. I just didn't mesh the best with the coach. It is what it is.
That's well, sure, and that's part of it. That you have to. You make the best decision you can when you're making the choice of where you're going to go play, but you don't really have all the information until you get there. And sometimes things just aren't a good fit. But now I think it's probably a little easier, now that the transfer portal exists.
Yes.
But that was not the case back when you were playing.
Right,
so.
right. Well, and she didn't have to release me from the roster. I was released the day or 2 days before our season started, so I was really lucky on that. We were the only NAIA team at the time that had ever beat Lincoln in a Creighton tournament, so I think there was probably some emotion and stuff there too. But I mean, I love ball. I love Lincoln. And, I love Bellevue still. My softball coach for Bellevue is the athletic director now, Ed Lahotek. Absolutely love that man. Still call him for random things all the time. But yeah, I mean, the transition, back to your question, it was hard, but it wasn't, it's just more of like you're on your own now, when you're playing and you're doing all the things, your parents most of the time are still coming to those things. Like I still would drive early, but they would come, to the games and stuff. But when you're in college, you're on your own. Either you show up or you don't. And if you don't show up, you're not going to play.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I was fortunate enough during my sportscasting days, I got to do the Division III National College Softball Tournament.
Okay.
I got to go and broadcast at that. And yeah, when I got there and I'm watching these games, I said, okay, this is just a different world. I mean, even at the Division III level. And so I don't know how anybody can react that fast, because the pitcher for softball is not as far away as they are with baseball. And yeah, the ball is bigger, but holy cow, when you figure the
distance,
the distance, and then how just the speed from when it leaves the pitcher's hand until it hits the catcher's mitt, equate that over and do the math for baseball, I think it's faster.
Oh yeah.
I think softball's faster.
So way back when I was in college, we would do the baseball players, we can hit you guys, blah, blah, blah. And then we'd always have those fun games. And, the math of it is 90 mile an hour baseball and a 60 mile an hour softball would reach home at the same time.
At the same time.
So yeah, you have way less time to react. And then our bases. I mean, same with the bases. My daughter plays first base. I played third base and I was a catcher. My daughter plays first base, and your reaction time and coming up on bunts or slaps and things like that. We didn't have face masks.
No, that's true.
And actually my daughter still doesn't wear a face mask. I won't force her to wear it. If she was a pitcher, that would be one thing. But she doesn't. She's like, I can't see the ball. So I'm like, okay. Some people don't like that, but it's not a requirement. So it's not a state requirement where we are, or an organization requirement. So, but we didn't have that stuff.
Do you still get hit up from, I mean, I'm thinking about all the different leagues that are out there, even a church league or something like that, and always wanting you to play?
I did for a long time, especially before I had kids. I called it Bastards League, sorry,
right.
But, and I had fun. I had a lot of fun. Not as much being out here. I don't know if there's a lot out here like there is in Omaha. I mean, I could go back into Omaha and Bellevue and Papillion, and you could play on a league every night. I have not found any out here that I know of. But I do get hit up now that Addie started playing. I said I reared my ugly head in the select world for a year. Like, Addie played 2 years ago for Omaha Quakes, and towards the end of that season, I had like 5 different organizations calling me, asking me if I would coach, and they would take my kid and all the things. And so I was meeting with a few of them. We knew Addie wasn't going to stay with that organization, and it was kind of just our first year of getting back into. I had been away from ball for so long, other than out here, and so we were getting back into that. And I was like, what just happened here? Like, how did this, and I'm like, and I'm married. They don't even know my married name. They know me by, and so, but they were like, oh, such and such said this, or Addie was doing pitching lessons at the time, and some people knew her. She was also my college coach. So yeah, I was surprised. I was like, I reared my head in it for literally like 6 months, and then they were like, can you coach? Can you coach? Can you coach? And then I didn't realize that Stealth, who she plays for now, was the Lady Bruins, who I played for years ago. I knew it was one of the Bellevue teams, right. But as I went back and looked at everything, I was like, oh my gosh, like, how crazy is that? We didn't have an indoor facility. Now they do. So, like, right where I grew up too. It's like 5 minutes from where I grew up. So we always just played at Bellevue East or West or BJSA, so yeah.
Well, I'm a big believer in sports. I'm a big believer in how it can help a young person transfer into adulthood, and a lot of the qualities and a lot of the skills that a young person learns during that time transfers very well onto that. a number of years ago, I got to interview my old high school basketball coach. And he had come, I was at the state basketball tournament in Des Moines, and he was there, and I got to bring him up at halftime at one of the games that I was doing. And I talked to him about the team that we had. I'm an old guy, so this goes back into the 80s. But how many of the guys that were on that team went on to have very successful careers that had nothing to do with basketball. One did. He became a coach. But, mostly a lot of bankers, one politician. It's... I've seen it over and over how the values that are learned from that can transfer over, and I'm sure that's probably one of the big reasons that you are excited that your daughter's decided to be a part of it.
Yeah, and living vicariously through her kind of all over again, in my own way. But I think, the life lessons, I can't even tell. I mean, I learned a lot playing ball, and that's all I did. I just played softball, so I didn't do all the extra sports, when I was younger I did, but otherwise, like, I did softball and I motocross raced a little bit, and
oh boy,
and went and when I got to the age of hurting myself, it was, what do you want to do? And so I chose softball and played ball, and that's what I stuck with.
Well, I was seeing, this is when I had Taylor Stanton's out here with the CB Captains, the semi-pro soccer team, and I started that by telling him, I don't prep for these. I learn about a person at the same time. I'm learning so much right now, and I'm like, holy, you race motocross? Oh my God, that is unbelievably cool. I always wanted to do that as a young person, and I never got to. I used to ride dirt bikes all the time, but never got to race. But that's...
all the good places, Jeeps in Wichita, Kansas, and Millville, Minnesota, and Winterset, which I think there's a new owner. The old owner came back and is the new owner again, and there were lots of places. Like, it was a blast.
There used to be a great motocross place up by Mapleton.
I don't know where that is.
Mapleton is north from here somewhere.
Okay.
Straight east of Sioux City, I think, is roughly about where it is. And there was this great motocross track or campgrounds there, and trails everywhere, all through the woods. And we used to do that. But it's tons of fun. I used to have a great time. I need to get a Jeep again so I can get out and do that kind of stuff.
Right.
Because that's fun. All right, you have a day job. You have I don't even know, your business is big enough now. Can you call it a side hustle anymore? I don't think so. You've got kids playing sports. You got a husband who's still out there loving to have fun doing rodeo. Yep. So I don't know, where do we even start with all this? How about we just start with your day job? Because you also, what you're doing is very meaningful. Yeah. And I think that really helping out with the community and beyond. So just tell folks what it is that you do.
Yeah, so I work for AIM Institute out of Omaha, Nebraska, just downtown Omaha. In a nutshell, we have different Department of Education grants. We have all different grants, but we have the grants that I service is a Department of Education grant for TRIO and Talent Search, which is basically big colleges, big and small. A lot of the colleges around here have TRIO programs, and what we do is try to alleviate any barriers for the students for post-secondary. So we kind of have 3 targeted areas: getting kids into STEM, cultural, different cultural activities, and then all the academic portion of stuff. So in the middle schools, so my 2 target schools, which doesn't mean I'm just there, but my 2 target schools are Wilson and TJ in Council Bluffs. Yeah. So in the middle school side, we take kids to Iowa Western and UNO and let them see what college is like. They get to eat at the all-you-can-eat cafeteria, which is usually like Gremlins with the slushy machine and the ice cream machine and the soda machine, and it's quite fun. We're doing that actually this month. 300 8th graders I'll be taking. So, and we've gone to Illuminarium, so all things STEM. Mm-hmm. And then on the high school side, it's the ACT prep, and we give if they're qualified, we give them ACT waivers so they don't have to pay to take the ACT, which then gives them more ACT prep through ACT. We also do college visits, anything STEM related. So again, the Luminarium, Strategic Air Museum, things like that. and then FAFSA help, because that's been a nightmare over the last year, because that just changed, majorly changed. So we're certified to help parents and students fill out their FAFSAs. And then scholarship applications, resumes, personal speeches, all those things, or personal statements, all those things that you kind of need to have if you want to go to college, or most of the four-year colleges anyways. So yeah, that's what my day job is. And then we also hold another grant. It's a Lakin grant, and that services adults. So it's a SWIFT program, if you've heard of SWIFT, through Lakin. We start with like a demystifying tech class, which I teach in various areas. And then after they've taken that, they can go on to take our free courses, like Foundations of Web Development. So they'll learn how to create landing pages. By the time they're done, they're 12-week courses. I think they're 12 weeks. Code Next is another one that's through like Google that we have certified people to teach. We try to get those in the high schools. Foundations of Tech in general, so all of tech in one, and deciding kind of where you might fit in there. So, and then I know there's other ones, Python, the higher end ones, Python, teaching how to do Python. So they're all free, which is really cool. We're partnered with the Lakin grant. I think we're going to have one in November. So we just started one a couple weeks ago, and they're either at the Lakin campus or online, or at the Brain Exchange in Omaha off of Harney. So that's my day job.
That's your day job. Again, helping out young people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's I can only imagine the feelings that you can have of being rewarded, and the satisfaction that you can get from knowing that. I mean, it's not an understatement to say that lives are changed through these programs.
Oh yeah.
That a lot of young people who have everything that they need, other than sometimes, I'm guessing, just the knowledge of what it is that they're going to need to get to the next level. Because you talked about some things that I haven't thought of in years, and a lot of these young people, wait, I need this, I need this. Yeah, you do. Let's help you get there.
And I was that kid. Both my parents are great. I love them, but my parents were divorcing in the midst of my high school to college, trying to just figure out what I was doing, and I just knew I wanted to get away at the time, But I was a first generation college student. My dad worked for MUD in Omaha for 42 years. My mom's did different things, mostly like manufacturing type, jobs, and or stayed home with us. So I was that person, and I didn't have the help just because my parents didn't know.
Right.
I had an uncle that kind of helped, that lived in Lincoln, that kind of helped with some things, but I was that kid. And when I look back on it now, like, I wish I would have applied other places. Like, all I thought was, I'm going to get out of here and I'm going to apply for Lincoln, and I had some scholarship offers at other places, Northwest Missouri State, and some other smaller colleges too, and I just was like, I'm going to Lincoln. I didn't know, I hadn't been anywhere else. And so being able to do that with these kids and take them to different colleges so they can actually see it, because a lot of the times their parents can't take them on that. Some of them can, but with a lot of the students that I have, there's just no way. So how are they going to know that that's where they want to go unless they've been there? Or they just get the surprise and hope you like it when you get there. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of that too. So, but yeah, it's rewarding.
I'm also thinking that there has to be some cases where you are taking them and they're asking you questions like, what, you mean I actually have a choice? I can choose between one or the other? It's not just, okay, this place is here, so I have to go here. I can choose, I can make it. And having that kind of power and understanding that a young person, as they're transitioning out of high school, does have the capability to make those decisions.
Yep.
That creates a skill that becomes very valuable after they're done with school and they go into the workforce.
Yep. And then they can look and see, like, I don't just have to, well, I'm an example of that too. My degree's in psychology, and I'm not saying I'm not doing stuff with psychology, but I went a whole nother direction, So yeah, like learning too that I went to school for this, but And I thought it was going to be for whatever this was, but now it's something, I'm still using it, but it's something completely different. I never would have thought I was in education, ever.
Well, and I was just talking about that recently on the new morning show about you never know for sure whether something's a good fit for you until you give it a legitimate try. I mean, give it an honest effort. I'm not saying try it for 2 days and leave, but give it an honest effort, and you might find you love this. You might find there's just a slight shift, or maybe, no, this is just not for me. This just doesn't fit at all. And all of that is okay.
Yep.
It's okay to feel that way and to make those decisions and to change your mind about things.
That's funny because last night my husband, as I was talking to him about a few different things that we have going on, he's just like, you need to sit down with some quiet time without your phone or anything else and like think about what you want to do. And I'm
Yeah.
I'm like, I do that all the time, and I have 50 things that I want to do, right? And he's like, that's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. I love that you know, I'm always doing something different.
Right.
He's like, I just like, what's your end game? Which was funny because that was asked when I was sitting on the panel for Iowa West a few weeks ago, like, what's your end game? And I was like, my end game? I'm 37. I don't have an end game yet. I was like, but the next step in the boutique world would be my own brand, which then I laughed because I have that coming, but my labels have been held hostage, literally. So that was kind of the next step into that. But yeah, like, I don't know what I want to do when I grow up. I still don't know, you know, and we've had a little bit of that conversation. So I'm like, I want to do a podcast of my own and 50 other things.
Well, sure. And all of that makes great sense. And I can remember, you know, being your age. I'm not anymore, but I don't feel any different today than I did when I was your age.
Right.
But now I have to start thinking about, all right, what's my exit strategy for when the whole thing's over?
Right.
That has become a realization for me. I never thought of that before. I didn't, when I was your age, I never thought of that. Not a single time.
Yeah, and that's when they said that to me. I was like, I don't know. I'm not thinking about that. But, you know, I think I would love for my kids to want to run it or do something with it or do something similar, but I will never put that burden on any of my children either. Like, if they want to do that, that's one thing, right? I truly don't know if they would. Addie, I don't think so. Addie wants to be a vet. The little girl said she wanted to be a vet since she was 3 years old, and she's 12 now, and she still wants to be a vet. So hopefully that stays. That will definitely help us with the horses and all the animals that we have. But and my youngest one just recently has said that she wants to be a vet as well, but small animals, little animals. She wants to do stuff like that. So Addie wants to do cows. She wants to be a large animal vet. So, and then my middle one, she's like, I want to do stuff with like water animals. And I was like, oh, okay, I got, you know, a marine biologist and a small animal vet and a large animal vet. And so I kind of laughed. So I don't even know if I'll still have it at that, you know what I mean? At that point, like, I love doing it, but I haven't made it a job, if that makes any sense.
Well, first off, let's give the name of it.
Sure.
I mean, you have the Unique Boutique.
Iowa, yep.
Yeah. And where is it located?
In Neola.
In Neola. So is it where in Neola?
So if you're coming in from the Underwood Way, it's like the big brick building. It's off of 4th Street. So it's 101 4th Street. It is the old Bricks Plumbing building. Before that, it was a hotel. It's the oldest building in Neola. And I'm on the inside part of the street, so I have a big glass garage door.
How far back does it go? When did you open?
I opened that storefront last July.
Last July?
Yep.
Are you open every day, or is it just on?
Yeah, so I'm online every day. I post most days on our VIP page, so it's Unique Boutique Iowa VIP. So you can purchase things online and we ship, or you can pick them up at the store. Otherwise, I built this business the last almost 8 years on the weekends. So most people know if they want to come shop, they come shop on Saturday or Sunday.
Right.
During the holidays, we have more hours. But yeah, it's just kind of, it is still, that's why I still call it my side gig, because it's only on the weekends.
Well, I'm thinking you were obviously already very busy before this ever came along. So why did you decide to dedicate your time, your energy, your thought power?
Yeah.
Because jumping back and forth between one thing to another, that takes energy.
Yeah.
So what made you decide that you wanted to do that?
So I'm from Omaha, Bellevue originally. My husband's from Underwood. We got married 9 years ago. Our anniversary was last week. We've been together 12 years. And as I came out here, I was selling like headbands and applique onesies. I had my oldest daughter. She was just a baby. And so I started doing some of the like craft shows and stuff out here.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of my introduction into Southwest Iowa. And then I got married. When we got married, we were having kids, and I didn't know anybody. I moved out here. My sister, I only have one sister. She moved away. At the time, she lived in Washington State. And then all the rest of my family is in like Omaha, West Omaha. And I stayed home with the kids. And my husband resents the statement of those were the worst 5 years of my life. However, the conversations with that is that I had no adult time. Like I didn't, we live in the country. I didn't have a lot of friends out here because I had just moved out here. And so I just didn't know anybody. Addie was in preschool, and I was having kids. So I wasn't at all of the things, and I didn't know all of the people out here or how small schools run. Like things are very different from, I graduated with a class of almost 600 at Bellevue West,
Mm-hmm.
and that's like the entire school that we have out here,
Right.
So I've always sold something. My mom, there's stories all over. My mom will tell people that I sold rocks as a kid, literally rocks. The neighbor girl and I would shine them up with toothbrushes and go to the neighbors next door. And we lived on a busy street. We lived on
Right.
Harrison, 30th and Harrison in Omaha. And so you couldn't cross the street, but we would come home with money every day, like $5, $10. I mean, and that was in the early 90s. So that was a lot of money then. Anyway, I started just selling different things, those applique onesies and stuff like that. I've done all the MLMs you can imagine. And then when we had Evelyn, she's our middle. When we had Evelyn, I signed on to LuLaRoe. Have you watched Lula Riches?
No.
Good. When you want to lose some brain cells, watch it.
Right.
And at the time, and I don't know if I've ever even told, Becca Wiggins owns Zested Charm. I don't know if I've ever told her this. I had to like pitch this to my husband. I was staying home, one income household. I did some different things on the side, but I pitched it to him like nobody was selling it out here. You could see the map and nobody was selling it out here. It was $5,000 to start, like right off the bat.
Right.
And you got clothes that you got to choose, like I want this skirt, but it would be in 50 different prints. Like you didn't get to choose what you were getting. You just got what you got. And so November something, 5th maybe, I got the call because you're on a waiting list for months. I got the call, had my credit card in hand, and did all of the things. And literally, like I swear it was the same day, it probably was that week, Becca had posted that she had gotten all of her inventory and she was selling LuLaRoe. And so I was in Neola and she was in Underwood, and I was like, oh, like my husband's gonna kill me. And I sold it for 2 years, and it was what it was. I left us with a credit card that needed to be paid off, and a crap ton of inventory that couldn't be sold. And I said I would never do that again. I saved up a little bit of money from like birthday money and stuff from my family, and then I started selling Color Street nail strips. And I saved up all that money to start the boutique because I didn't want to be in debt. And so I felt bad. We were at the time, a family of 4 and pregnant with another one, and I left my husband with like, I don't know, probably $3,000 credit card, which was enough for me, right? Like, the terrible feeling. And so then when I wanted to do the rest of this, he was just kind of like, what? What are you doing? And another woman in Connecticut, Katie, she also sold LuLaRoe and Color Street, and her and I started buying packs of clothes. So when you buy packs, it's like 2 smalls, 2 mediums, 2 larges. We started buying packs of clothes, mainly cardigans and t-shirts. That was in leggings. That was a really big thing then. And we would ship them back and forth to each other's customers, like, so that we didn't have to, she didn't have to buy a pack and I didn't have to buy a pack. And we were running off of Google Sheets for what we had in
Right.
inventory. And that just blossomed from there. Like, she added a garage onto her house and opened during COVID. This was during COVID. I bought a trailer and redid this old New Trend 1988 work trailer. When we bought that thing, we were driving it home from Wahoo, Nebraska. It was like the siding on it was like flapping in the wind. My husband pulled over. A cowboy's not a cowboy if they don't have duct tape, and gorilla taped the side of it. And I don't even know how we got that thing home, but we redid that. And its debut, we call her Ethel. We brought Ethel out to Neola on Small Business Saturday. And then she would come out on the weekends, and then that's kind of when it really started. I did a lot in the house. I had open houses at my house on weekends when I could and stuff like that, but we live in the country, the gracious people of Neola, a lot of the older people came, which is great, and they still support me. But I knew that I needed something else. So then we started taking Ethel kind of around just the smaller areas. I cannot drive her. She's 8.5 feet wide and 16 feet long, and that 8.5 feet scares the crap out of me, because that's my husband's a truck driver, so he's like, here you go. And then it's 1 axle, so I'm like, if it ever has to be backed up anywhere, I'm just screwed. It just won't happen. So we had that for 2 years, and then I actually bought another trailer that I could drive and did a little bit inside of that. It was brand new, just so I could roll carts in and out, and we could go to different events. And then I opened in Underwood, right next to the I-80. That was my first actual storefront. And again, it was always on Small Business Saturday. That's kind of our big birthday and celebration we do every year. I was there for 2 years, and then the Paulies offered up the building that I have in Neola now. So it's been a journey.
Yeah, but it's also being able to follow people who are having, I've said it many times, that success takes a lot of different shapes and sizes.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And we all get to define what that looks like for us. It can be, we can say that, all right, I'm going to be successful when I'm selling however many thousands of dollars a month or whatever it is. Or you can say that, you're talking about some of the different things in how full your life is. That sounds like success to me.
Yeah, it's fun.
And I'm sure that moving out into rural Iowa from Omaha had to be a bit of a culture shock, even though it wasn't that far away.
Yeah.
But still, it's different.
Yeah.
It's a lot different.
That's funny. So, because I grew up in my family's from South Omaha. We're all SOBs, and then my parents built a house in the country in Bellevue. But still, we were 10 minutes from, and all the things. And so it was quiet and things like that. So that part was always it's always nice. I lived in downtown Omaha in my 20s. I've done all, in all the places. I love the quietness. But the biggest part for me was everybody always talked about your village, it takes a village, it takes a village. And I never really fully understood that. Because we had our family and stuff, where I live, and moving out here, I was my husband has family very close, and it's everybody's doing their own thing, right? You can have family 5 minutes away and not see them for a month. You know what I mean? Because everybody has lives. But then finding that village, my neighbors, Hannah and Jason Cook, they own JP Construction, and Heidi and Dave Carlson, Carlson Farms. Those are like my people. And those are the people that I could call right now and say, hey, da 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 da, you know. I didn't have that when I first moved out here. And meeting those people, like I've only met people really in the boutique for the most part. And that's what I wanted. Like that, for me, that was the success. Like I didn't know anybody. Not that I couldn't make friends, but just hard to make friends, especially in a small town when people have their own, you know, groups of people that they've grown up around and all the things. And, you know, I'm over here like, who's this? You know, well, they're related to such and such who's married to this person. I could do that in South Omaha all day long. But out here, you're just, 'cause everybody's like related somehow, you know? And so, yeah, like it was difficult, and now I don't feel so much that way. But now we go places, and my husband, who's lived here his entire life, is like, who is that? How did you meet them? Like what? You know, we just had a funny scenario with that. John Hoytch, do you know John Hoytch? He's the vice president of the Lakin Foundation.
Right, yeah.
I grew up around John since I was this big, and I seen him on a picture the other day and was like, is this you? I sent it to him, is this you? And he's like, yeah, we just gave $165 million away for the revitalization for Southwest Iowa for 55 towns. And we start talking about all the things. I saw that
story.
Yeah, so we start talking about all the things, and we ended up having dinner that night. And when I came home to tell my husband what was going on, he was like, the person that has his name on all the buildings? And I was like, yes, that's John Hoytch. And he was like, how you didn't never tell me you knew him? And I was like, I probably did, but I've seen that my whole life, like his name on buildings, you know what I mean? And so, which is a great thing, and I'm sure very earned, but I even told John that. I was like, I've seen that since I was this big, so I just wasn't correlating that was him. And then I have a Lakin grant. I service a Lakin grant, and he knew all about that too, so anyway, but so I have a big network in other places, but I don't have that here still. I mean, it's getting there. It's getting there. I've been out here for 12 years, but I'm still like trying to build that because it's harder out here. It just is.
Well, the population is smaller.
Yeah.
So there's not as
many people.
Not as many people, but whether it is smaller towns in Iowa, larger small town, which is what I like to call Council Bluffs.
Right.
You know, it's still it's big, but it's still a small town.
Right.
What I have discovered is that these communities are very accepting if you want to be there.
Correct.
If you want to be where you're at, the community be very accepting. Now, if you are dipping your toe in and running back, or you know, wherever, no, you'll get shunned pretty quickly and people can sniff that out.
Oh yeah.
And it's been my experience with that within the business community in Council Bluffs. I've met some wonderful people. It's incredibly helpful people that, you know, like you talked about, make a call and the help is going to be there.
Yep.
And that is because of my own personal investment in the community, just like you're talking about with your investment in the communities where you're at.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that like I was in Underwood and then Neola, and I have people from all over, you know, come, which is also really great. I ship to all the states and all, you know, but just finding that community and finding the business community too. The business community is hard. Talk about that. Everybody doesn't play nice in the sandbox all the time, you know, and that's hard too. That's really hard to accept. And that's the part that I just have to really be humble and stay in my lane and keep doing what I'm doing the best I can, and you know, work with whoever wants to work with me and stuff like that, you know. So yeah.
Well, and I know what you're saying, and I can usually sense if that's going to be the case with somebody that I meet, and I typically don't go chasing after those people, you know, because I
learned the hard way, but yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and so did I. You know, I got a bit of a sales background, so, you know, with as long as I was in the radio industry, and that can, when you call somebody up and you're trying to sell, you know, magical time that when it goes by it's over with,
right?
You know, it's not real easy to convince somebody that I have their best interest at heart.
Right. Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I do know what you're saying, but I would guess you haven't said it yet, but I'm gonna think that we would be of the same page that it has to be about building relationships.
Yeah.
And it has to be about truly wanting to provide a product or a service for somebody that's past what it does for you financially.
Right. Yeah, because
again, we're in small town Iowa. People can smell that, and if you are just, back in the 1800s, they used to call them carpetbaggers.
Yep. Yep.
So that still exists.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, and I think my biggest thing that I always think about is we're still 20 minutes from Council Bluffs. So if somebody really wants something, they don't come to me, they can go to Council Bluffs, which please come to me, but try to come to me. Or Amazon. I mean, today's Prime Day, and I mean,
right.
So yeah, it's about building relationships because they know that they might have to wait to come to me on the weekend, or they can go into town or get something from Amazon and have it. Now we have same day delivery out here, which is crazy. So, it is building relationships, and that's truly kind of back to your question earlier, the reason that I did this. I didn't do it. I'm not a millionaire. I'm not putting all this money away. I'd love to say I'm doing that. I'm just not there yet. I mean, I'm debt free, which is amazing. I said I would never have debt, so I don't. But at the end of the day, it's my getaway from everything else. It's my getaway from my kids and my job, and I love my husband, but my house. It's just my exit of just, it's bliss for me. It's my peace. And then seeing all of the people and meeting all of the people and hearing their stories and chatting with them and or helping them. The biggest thing for me out here is that everything that I did was affordable. I don't want to not be affordable for people, so I try to have stuff for everybody. And I don't have super high-end things. Sometimes I'll get smaller things in, but I want people to be able to come in and find something, whether that's a $5 item or a $55 item. I want there to be something for everybody. And then fashion-wise, people just instantly think cowboy boots and jeans and flannel shirts in the country. And there is a lot of that. But, t-shirts have played a big game in things over the last, I don't know how many years, it's just jeans, if you don't want to go into the Buckle and spend $80 on jeans, you can come to my shop and buy $50 jeans,
Right.
And I also think the stigma of a boutique is that things are expensive. I can't afford a boutique. And yes, when I was growing up, that is how that was. But I hope that stigma's kind of gone since all of the small business. There's a lot of boutiques that have come out now. So, but yeah, building relationships, that's the whole reason why I did this.
Well, you brought up Becca at owning the Dusted Charm.
Yeah.
I stopped in there a while back looking for a gift. This would have been back in July. And I could have jumped on Amazon and gone through and looked at different stuff. But I had two young ladies that were listening to me because it was for somebody else. And I was saying, all right, well, here's what I'm looking for. I don't really know it. Well, let's go look at this. Let's go look at, and they were taking me around different places and showing me different things. You don't get that shopping on Amazon.
Nope. You don't.
And had there been any problem, and there wasn't, but had there been any problem, you had a real person that you can talk to. And I get that Amazon has a place.
Right.
I understand that.
Right.
But it's an experience going into your shop, going into Becca's shop, going into anybody that has a storefront and walking in there and being able to see things on a shelf and taking it in that way. That's what I'm paying for.
Right.
I'm paying for the full experience. I'm paying for somebody, hey, do you want that wrapped? Oh, please, that would be great.
Right.
That type of thing. When all that stimulus money went out when we were in the middle of COVID and bailing everybody out and people were getting money, it all went to Amazon.
Yeah. Yeah.
That guy had to give up half of his fortune when he got divorced, and how quickly was he the richest man in the world again?
Right. Right.
It just was so fast.
Yep.
So that's where folks like you, and that's what am so impressed with what it is that you're doing there with that store, because a lot of people would say, "Oh, there's no reason for it. There's too many hurdles. There's too many other options for people." And you said, "No, it's not that way. I can do this direction," and you are succeeding at it.
Yeah, I started doing everything online and reached out to Becca. I think one of the things I wanted to say with that is, like, when you said, people are showing, how about this, or look at this, like, those are handpicked by Becca. Those are handpicked by me. Like, we go to market and are there for, sometimes it's only 2 days or sometimes it's 4 days, and we're trying to pick out all those things. Like, I don't have anybody else. I've had a couple friends come here or there with me, but, like, these are things, like, I felt, I touched, I priced, and then they get shipped to my shop, and, like, I know what's coming and what, and so, yeah, it's a process. It's not just an Amazon purchase or a
Right.
Target purchase. And yes, they have purchasers, but those people get to go in and just be like, I want this, and this, and 50,000 units. Like, like,
Right.
I wish I could do that. But, that's probably the experience part of things too, is like, I did all that, and
And
that's
plus,
crazy.
it's also stores like yours that is keeping small towns in Iowa alive and revitalizing some of these downtowns. You're seeing a lot of things moving back in downtown in Glenwood. That I know that a couple of years ago I was talking to some folks there that they wanted it to be more of a destination, that people can come spend a Saturday there. There's other towns around the state that have gotten very good at it and are doing it very well. Used to live in Pella back in the 90s, and
Okay.
that's a town.
I do know where that is.
Yeah, that is a town
That's the Tulip Festival,
that-
right?
Yes.
Yes.
They're in Orange City. Yeah, they have them in both places, but they're all specialty shops,
Yep.
and they're really, really nice specialty shops. That's what brings people into town. The community of Walnut found their niche with the antiques.
Yep. Atlantic's building up there. We just went
Yes.
there on Friday. That was what we did for our anniversary. We went to all the little places in
Right.
Atlantic, and yeah, I mean, and Neola's been building that up too. I mean, I don't know what it was 12 years ago because I wasn't there, but in the few years that things, like, I know the movie theater's been there, so we have the movie theater, and we have the 2 bars that are there, and Trippers does pizza. And
I love there's a grocery store there.
Yep,
I
there's a
love
grocery
that there's
store.
a grocery store there, because I really enjoy camping up at Arrowhead.
Oh yeah, so you can go to the grocery
And
store
I
when
don't
you
have to stock up ahead of time. I know
Yep.
that I can just drive. Now I can drive back across the bridge.
Oh
It was
yeah,
closed for a
yes it was. Yeah.
but now it's back open again, and you can go over. All right, I need some more water. Oh, they're going to have it over at the store, and
Yep.
it's not a superstore,
Right.
but it doesn't need to be.
But it has what, especially for the campers, you can get the things you need, and then there's the coffee shop, and there's the Sidelines Tees and Sports, and there's the community center with the pool and the park. They've put so much time and money and effort into the park. I mean, the park's they're beautifying the park. They have been, and the golf course and Penny's Visions. And I mean, Neola has a lot of things for being a few streets,
Yeah.
my shop, there's a paint and sip in the corner of where my shop is. And then they're building buildings too. Some of the construction guys are building new buildings, and there haven't been new buildings built in Neola, and I don't even know, not as long as I've been there. So, yeah, I mean, and then they're part of that revitalization, so I'm sure they'll be doing some good stuff with that too. But yeah, I mean, the small business it's growing everywhere. Underwood's doing the same thing on their main street, which is great. My qualm with things right now is that there aren't any grants for us. There's grants for old buildings, and there's
Right.
grants for starting new business, but not clothing stores. So I gotta find something.
Right. What are your goals for your business? I mean, do you set goals and then go out to achieve them, or do you look for opportunities and then just take advantage of what comes to you? What type of path do you take?
That's hard. Kind of a little bit of both. So The reason I say both is because a friend approached me about a business that they had the yard cards. Have you, like, the big happy birthday yard cards?
Okay, yeah.
And just someone that I worked with in the schools, and I was like, I think I want that. He was selling it, and he's like, seriously? And all the things that you do? And I was like, yeah, I think that'll be fun. Like, it'll be something that my kids can take a part in, because they can't do a lot in the boutique right now. But so I bought that over the summer, and we were doing that like all over the place. But I still just put it under the business. Like, I put my little logo on it, and was like, we're just venturing into something different. Like, and it was just an opportunity that fell in my lap for a very affordable price, and then I had to get a storage garage for it. But and then I have goals. I mean, my main biggest goal that I have had since I had a storefront is, as long as one person comes in the door every day that I'm open, I'm doing okay. I better knock on wood,
Yeah, that'll do it.
because I've never not had one person come in. So, and then the days, there's been a few days with the employees that I have that I'm like, has it been slow today? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, well, you can close up if you want, if no one's been there. Maybe today is going to be the day. And then all of a sudden it's like a surge of people, for the last hour that we're open. And I'm super thankful for that. But my goal is just to not be in debt, have some nice clothes. That's what my husband always tells me. I'm not stupid. I know why you did this. And I'm like, what? And he's like, you just wanted the clothes. And I'm like, well, yeah, I just wanted the clothes. Yeah, so, and then just learning, like, you're always growing. Business is always changing.
Yes.
Like, you can't do business the same way for 20 years. If you do, you're not going to be in business, right? I mean, you have your few people here and there, but some way they've evolved and changed, like, or they wouldn't be open, So I think, like, the exciting part for me is just the evolution of business and how things work. You know what I mean? For me, or for a lot of people now, Becca and I, like, we started our stuff on Facebook Live, selling live all the time,
Right.
And that was a big thing, especially during COVID. That's where everybody had their COVID money and they were sitting at home and they could shop, and I thought that was going to be like my demise. I told my husband, like, I don't know, I had went to market for the first time and had bought all this stuff that was going to start coming, and COVID hit. And I was like, like, should I cancel all this? Like, what should I do? And my husband's like, no, don't cancel it, And I didn't. And then I was the busiest I had ever been and just not expected it,
Right.
It was after that we had to figure out what's going to be your strategy to stay in business, And for me, it was just growing at that point. Like, I had the trailer to travel places so people could come.
There was a lot of talk back then about, the new normal. Everybody's just going to stay at home. And no, they're not. They're not going to just stay at home, because people are going stir crazy being at home.
Yes.
They want to get back out again.
Yep. And when I opened the storefront, that was kind of my worry too. Like, how is this going to happen? Because everybody had been home. Well, people got back to the point of wanting to touch clothes and feel clothes and all of those things. And that was where, like, my everything was. That's where my bread and butter was at the time. And I'm thankful for it. And people are still like that. I think even more so now. Like, online sales are great when I'm posting. People always ask how you're doing, and it's like, it's great when I'm open, or it's great when I'm posting. But the bread and butter is when you're in front of people.
Yeah.
And they can feel and touch and see and talk and all the things.
All right. So if anybody wants to see online where you're at, what's your site?
Yep.
How do they find you?
It's shop, the letter U, the letter B, Iowa.com. And then my Facebook is Unique Boutique Iowa VIP. And then I'm in Neola on 4th Street. So
Open on weekends.
open on weekends. Or during the week, by appointments. There's a note on the door people can call, and I'm in and out throughout the week all the time for people. So
Well, I'm a fan.
Yeah,
I think
thanks.
that you're doing great work. And from the AIM Institute to the Unique Boutique to supporting your family and being out there and going to softball, going to rodeos, going to all of this different stuff, dragging a trailer around.
Yeah.
It's it's kind of like, all right, this is America. This
Yeah.
is how I'm sitting here.
Really? Yeah.
And I'm very thankful that out of all of that, he said, all right, I'm going to take an hour or so, and I'm going to come over and I'm going to talk to Todd.
Yeah.
So
Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you very much for coming out and doing this. And also, again, thank you to the Schneckloth family at The Acres.
Yes.
Their website, theacresvenue.com. Trust me, when you're looking for some place to put your event, this needs to be on your list of places to check out. Come meet Adam and Kimberly. Take a tour around this place. See all the work that they've done. It's phenomenal. Right here, although the fire's almost out, we're in the bonfire area. This is a great area as well. So please, theacresvenue.com is the website. And we will be back very soon with another episode of Campfire Conversations. Until then, take care.